They thought intimacy died after 50. That passion fades. That touch no longer matters. But the truth? Millions of older adults are silently suffering not from lack of sex, but from lack of connection. Some are turning to virtual escapes, others, to silence. But it doesn't have to end this way. Bell, if you're over 50 and still crave something real, hit that subscribe button. Like, share, and stay with me. Because what I'm about to reveal will change the way you see aging forever. Hello again, friends. If this is your first time here, welcome to a space where age doesn't silence truth, and wisdom only grows louder. I'm Dr. Harlan Bishop, not a doctor of medicine, but a lifelong researcher in human behavior and aging. And what I've come to understand, through decades of interviews, papers, and deeply personal stories, is this. The most dangerous changes after age 50 are the ones no one talks about. Today, we're going to begin exploring a topic that's often brushed aside not because it isn't real, but because it's uncomfortable. And that topic is, what really happens when people over 50 stop having sex? Section 1, The Slow Withdrawal, 1:30 to 5:30. Meet George. He's 56, retired early from his management job, keeps busy with gardening and watching old war documentaries. Married for over 30 years to his wife, Sharon. They don't fight. They sleep in separate beds now. The last time they had sex? George can't quite remember, maybe 2 years ago. Maybe more. And here's the thing, George isn't angry. He isn't bitter. He just feels hollow. That's the beginning of what I call the quiet collapse. It doesn't come with a loud argument. It's not sparked by infidelity or betrayal. It begins in the silence. In the routine. In the slow acceptance that this is just how it is now. Section 2, It's not just about sex, 5:30 to 10 o'clock. When we talk about sex, most people assume we're just talking about pleasure or libido. But let me be clear. Sex, especially after 50, isn't about performance. It's about connection, validation, and aliveness. When intimacy disappears from a person's life, especially physical intimacy, it's not just a bedroom issue. It becomes a self-worth issue. It becomes a communication issue. And, most dangerously, it becomes an identity issue. You start wondering, am I still desirable? Does touch still matter to me? Have I become invisible? And those thoughts are seeds, tiny, but potent. Left unchecked, they bloom into a kind of emotional distance that's harder to name, and harder to fix. Section 3, The Science of the Slow Fade, 10 to 1500 hours. Now, I don't want to overwhelm you with charts or hormone graphs. That's not what this space is for. But it's worth knowing this. When we give up sex, our body doesn't just shrug and say okay. It adjusts. Testosterone and estrogen levels shift downward not just from age, but from lack of arousal, touch, and desire. Oxytocin, the so-called cuddle hormone, drops. And dopamine, that little neurotransmitter that lights up when we feel joy or closeness, dims over time. The body responds to absence like it does to any loss. It closes doors. And sometimes, it forgets how to open them again. Section 4, Emotional Shutdown after 50, 1500 hours to 2000 hours. There's a myth I've seen repeated in too many aging groups. That kind of intimacy is for the young. We're past that now. Let me say this clearly. Desire does not have an expiration date. But what often does fade not from biology, but from disappointment is the courage to express that desire. Men feel ashamed for wanting. Women feel embarrassed for missing touch. Couples fear rejection so much, they stop trying altogether. And here's the tragedy, most people don't choose to live without intimacy. They just slip into it slowly, silently, accidentally. Section 5, The Psychological Fallout, 20:00, 25:00. When I've interviewed individuals who haven't had intimacy for 5, 10, even 20 years, I always ask one question. How do you feel when someone touches you now? The most common answer? They don't. I once spoke to a 68-year-old widow who said, I realized the last time someone touched me with warmth was when a nurse held my hand during a checkup. Touch starvation is real. And beyond the body, it affects our self-image, our confidence, even our will to seek connection again. You don't just lose sex. You start losing your willingness to be vulnerable. Section 6, Why this matters so much, 25:00, 30:00. So, why talk about this now? Because we are entering an era where people are living longer than ever, but many are doing so in emotional and physical isolation. We are seeing a spike in loneliness-related illnesses, depression in retirees, silent divorces, couples staying together, but emotionally apart. And the thread running through many of these? The quiet withdrawal of physical intimacy. Closing of Part 1, 30:00, 32:00. So what do we do about it? That's what we'll explore in Part 2. We'll dive deeper into the science, the hidden emotions, and what's actually happening beneath the surface when sex disappears from a relationship or a single person's life. But for now, I want to leave you with a question. Have you accepted disconnection as your new normal, or do you still believe in the possibility of touch? Because the body may forget for a while, but it never loses its ability to remember. Thank you for being here. If you found value in this, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who might need this message today. Welcome back, friends. If you're joining us after Part 1, you know we started a deep and honest conversation about the hidden costs of giving up sex. Not just physical. I'm Dr. Harlan Bishop, a researcher who has spent decades studying aging, intimacy, and identity. And I can tell you, from thousands of stories and countless interviews, when intimacy fades, it doesn't leave quietly. In this second part, we are going to explore the invisible biological and psychological changes that follow the absence of physical intimacy. And most of all, what they do to your spirit. Section 1, The Chemistry of Disconnection, 1:30 to 6 o'clock. Let's begin with your body, not as a machine, but as a living emotional memory bank. When you're touched, held, kissed, or made love to, your body responds chemically. It releases a symphony of hormones. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone. Dopamine, the reward hormone. Serotonin, the mood stabilizer. Testosterone and estrogen, sexual health and vitality. When we remove sex, affection, and even consistent physical touch from our lives, these systems begin to slow down. Not because of age, but because of inactivity. Without stimulation, testosterone declines faster in men, leading to fatigue, depression, even loss of muscle. Estrogen imbalance in women may worsen mood swings, hot flashes, or vaginal dryness. Oxytocin levels plummet, especially for those living alone, triggering feelings of detachment and sadness. It's like a once bright radio signal that starts fading, until there's only static. Section 2, The Mind on Pause, 6 to 11 o'clock. Sex and intimacy aren't just about pleasure, they shape how we see ourselves. For many adults over 50, stopping sex becomes linked with something far more dangerous. The idea that I am no longer needed, wanted, or alive in that way. That belief sends a message to your brain that you are no longer in the game of love, connection, or desire. And your brain, always listening, begins to adapt. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and reshape, works for you when you engage with the world. But when you withdraw, it works against you. The brain starts reinforcing avoidance, emotional distance, apathy toward romance. In short, the longer you live without intimacy, the more your brain normalizes disconnection. Section 3, The Danger of Emotional Numbness, 11 to 15:30. Let me share a story. Margaret, 63, widowed for 5 years, once said something that stayed with me. It's not that I miss sex, I miss being seen. For her, the absence of touch had become the absence of identity. No one flirted. No one reached for her hand. No one reminded her she was still a woman with a pulse, not just a grandmother or volunteer. This is the quiet devastation we rarely talk about: emotional numbness. It's not sadness. It's not loneliness. It's a kind of flatness, a sense that nothing deeply moves you anymore. And here's the tragedy, most people who feel this way don't even realize it. They just say, I guess I'm just tired. Maybe I'm getting old. I've outgrown that part of life. No. You haven't. You've just adapted to scarcity. Section 4. What happens in relationships, 1530 to 2000 hours. Now, let's talk about couples. Giving up sex in a long-term relationship doesn't always come from loss of love, sometimes it comes from fear. Fear of being rejected, starting an awkward conversation, facing past hurts or mismatched desires. So instead, partners drift. They talk logistics, bills, groceries. They raise kids and then quietly become roommates. And what's worse, many don't even fight. They just fade into functioning disconnection. But here's the truth I've seen over and over. Intimacy doesn't fade from lack of love, it fades from lack of attention. Without physical closeness, relationships become dry gardens. And you cannot plant joy in dry soil. Section 5. Why we stop trying, 20:00, 25:00. People over 50 often tell me, I'd love to feel close again, but I don't know how. Or worse, I don't think anyone wants me anymore. That's the dangerous myth, that intimacy is for the young, the beautiful, the wrinkle-free. But let me share this truth. I've seen 70-year-olds fall madly in love. I've seen 60-year-old widows discover new pleasure. I've seen couples revive their intimacy after 30 years of silence. The problem isn't biology, it's belief. We stop trying because we think we don't deserve to feel alive anymore. We stop reaching out because we think no one wants to reach back. But you'd be surprised how many people are silently hoping someone will make the first move. Section 6. Reclaiming your chemistry, 25:00, 30:00. So, how do you begin again? Not with romance novels or dating apps, but with reconnection to your own body. Start by reintroducing small acts of self-care, massage, gentle touch, even eye contact with yourself in the mirror. Rekindle closeness with your partner not by jumping to sex, but by holding hands again. Sitting close on the couch. Giving back rubs without expectations. And if you're alone, seek connection, not necessarily sexual, but human. Hugs. Shared laughter. Volunteering. Eye contact with people who see you. The chemicals of closeness can be reawakened, but they respond to action, not thought. You must touch to feel again. Closing of Part 2, 30:00, 32:00. Friends, your body is not your enemy. Your age is not your barrier. And your desire, even if buried, is not gone. In Part 3, we'll talk about healing. How couples can slowly rebuild intimacy. How individuals can reconnect with desire. And how sexuality after 50 isn't a shadow of your youth, it can be your most honest, vulnerable, and powerful chapter yet. If this moved you, share it. Someone you love might be stuck in silence, too. And as always, thank you for being brave enough to listen to what your heart may have ignored for too long. Hello again, my friends. If you've made it here to Part 3, I want to say something deeply personal, thank you. It takes courage to face the silence. To look at the emotional distance, the fading spark, the aches that don't just belong to your body but your soul. And even more courage to say, I want more. I'm Dr. Harlan Bishop. And today, as we close this 3-part journey, I invite you into the most sacred part of this conversation. Healing. Because it's never too late. Not to love. Not to feel. Not to begin again. Section 1. The first step isn't physical, it's permission, 1:30 to 6 o'clock. One of the biggest myths around sex and aging is that intimacy begins in the bedroom. It doesn't. It begins in the mirror. It begins when you look at yourself, wrinkles, scars, belly, gray hair, and say, I still matter. I am still worthy of being touched, held, desired. You don't need to change your body. You need to change your belief. Reclaiming intimacy starts with giving yourself permission to be awkward again, to feel arousal again, to want connection without shame. Many over 50 feel guilt for still wanting sex. But let me tell you plainly, desire is not dirty. It is the most human part of us. You don't outgrow it. You bury it when the world tells you your time has passed. I'm here to tell you it hasn't. Section 2. How couples can rebuild intimacy, 6 to 12 o'clock. If you're in a relationship, and it's been months or even years since you've been physically intimate, here's your roadmap back. And no, it doesn't start with sex. It starts with safety. Ask your partner tonight. Do you miss being close to me? Not just physically. Emotionally. Energetically. From there, you rebuild through 3 phases. Reconnection through presence. Share 15 minutes each day just sitting together, eye to eye. No phones. No agenda. Just quiet presence. Intentional non-sexual touch. Give each other a hand massage. A back rub. Sit shoulder to shoulder. No pressure. Just contact. Emotional intimacy before physical intimacy. Talk about the fear. The discomfort. The longing. Intimacy requires emotional nakedness before physical vulnerability. Over time, physical connection returns naturally, not forcefully. Because real desire in older age is not about performance, it's about presence. Section 3, Solo but not alone, reigniting intimacy within, 12 to 1730. Now, if you're single, divorced, widowed, or never married, this message is for you. You don't need a partner to reclaim intimacy. You need to start with your own body. Here's how. Touch yourself with kindness, not just sexually, but intentionally. Moisturize your skin. Caress your arms. Lay your hand on your heart. Move your body with love. Dance, walk slowly, stretch, feeling every joint as alive. Speak to your reflection, tell yourself you are still sensual, still a man, still a woman, still beautiful. We often wait for someone to touch us, forgetting we can wake ourselves up first. And when you radiate that kind of presence, connection finds you in friends, in strangers, even in new love. Section 4, Breaking the Shame Cycle, 1730 to 2200 hours. Let's talk honestly about shame. Many people over 50 feel like it's too embarrassing to talk about sex. They feel foolish, or afraid they'll be judged. But listen, shame is a liar. Shame says, you're broken. You missed your window. It's selfish to want love again. That's all false. The truth? Shame dies when it's spoken. Talk to a trusted friend, a therapist, or even anonymously online. But talk. Because silence is what kills intimacy, not age, not wrinkles, not libido. If you speak it, you start to heal it. Section 5, Your desire evolves, not disappears, 22:00, 26:00. Here's what I wish more people over 50 knew. Your sexuality doesn't disappear. It matures. You may not crave wild nights, but you crave depth. You want to be known, not just touched. You want connection that is calm, soulful, tender, and that is sacred. In fact, sex after 50 can be more emotionally satisfying than it ever was at 30 because you're more present, more self-aware, and more attuned to meaning. You're no longer trying to impress. You're trying to feel. That's not a downgrade. That's an upgrade. Section 6, A Closing Ritual, 26:00, 29:00. I want to offer you something to do tonight. A simple ritual. Take 5 minutes. Alone. Sit quietly. Place your hand over your chest. And ask yourself, where in my body do I still feel desire? It might be faint. It might feel foolish. That's okay. Stay with it. Now whisper to yourself. I give myself permission to want. I give myself permission to feel. I give myself permission to begin again. Because that's where healing begins. Not in clinics. Not in prescriptions. But in the choice to come home to yourself. Final message, 29:00, 32:00. My dear friends, this 3-part journey wasn't just about sex. It was about life. Aliveness. Belonging. If you felt something stir inside, a memory, a longing, a quiet hope, don't ignore it. That's the beginning of your return. Return to love. Return to touch. Return to your beautiful, aging, still worthy self. I hope you'll share this video with someone who may be suffering in silence. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, like this video, and turn on notifications. Because this channel isn't just about sex. It's about wholeness. And this community? It's here to remind you that your story isn't over. Not even close. From my heart to yours, thank you for walking this path with me. You are not alone. See you in the next conversation.